Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to our session on investing in Poland, modeling success for the future. My name is Charlotte Roux. I'm the Managing Director for Central and Southeastern Europe at the EBRD. We have a very impressive panel with us today, and I will just briefly introduce them. Sitting next to me is Pavel Karbovnik, the Deputy Minister of Finance. Thank you so much for joining us. Beata Jaworczyk, EBRD's Chief Economist. Paweł Widawski, FinTech Poland. Grzegorz Kucharski of the Warsaw Stock Exchange. And Elizabeta Falcetti, Regional Director for Poland and the Baltic States, based in Warsaw. So, Poland is the bank's third country of operations by population at 38 million, and is the largest and most diversified economy of Central and Southeastern Europe, with a GDP of $811 billion in 2023. It's a country with a strong entrepreneurial spirit. Poland has had an incredible track record of growth and dynamism since the start of the transition process in the late 1980s. At the same time, the country will face some challenges ahead: decarbonizing a coal-dependent economy, managing an aging workforce, deepening its capital market, and modernizing and digitizing services, including banking, which we will discuss today. So let me turn first to Minister Karbovnik to tell us the secret of Poland's impressive growth stories. What elements have been key to Poland's success? Is it the private sector? Is it the economic institutions? We will come back later to your policy priorities. Minister.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for these questions, and warm welcome to the panel. You've mentioned entrepreneurial spirit, and I think this is one of the key defining factors. I'm saying this because I think that what characterizes Poland is a sort of culture of freedom, and especially economic freedom. It's very much interconnected. Why I'm mentioning, I mean, it might sound a bit weird to talk about culture on the economic panel, but I'm mentioning this culture of freedom and culture of economic freedom that was characterized in the 80s by the solidarity movement that basically started changes in Europe, which led to the transition from communism to capital market economy that happened, that started in Poland and then was followed by the fall of the Berlin Wall. This is very much important because I think this is the defining factor. And as a matter of fact, as we are discussing today in Europe, the issue of competitiveness of European economy, it's very interesting to hear in these discussions, and we are hearing it from the European Central Bank, for example, that the major difference between Europe and the US is a cultural difference. That is why I'm mentioning that in Poland we have this culture of economic freedom and this drive for innovation, for entrepreneurship. We've always craved for freedom in terms of following, the American dream. This is very much our DNA. Even still today, I think Poland is the most pro-American society in the world, which basically relates to this culture of freedom. So I think I'm mentioning it because I think this is the key factor. Why? Because even when we had financial crisis, and now following the war, the pandemic, of course, the governments, they did a lot, and we have a very robust institutional setup. And the setting that was brought about by the changes in the beginning of the 90s, also the banking crisis in the 90s has set up our financial system in a way that made us really robust. when the financial crisis hit the world in 2008 and 2009. All this brings me to the point that the economy, the Polish economy, could grow despite external circumstances. And this growth in 2008, 2009 actually was in Poland Poland was the only country in Europe that had positive growth during the financial crisis. I'm convinced that the quality of our people, the human capital, the spirit of entrepreneurship that you mentioned, this is the defining factor why our economy has been growing so much. This year we're going to surpass 3%, we're going to reach close around 4% next year. We are one of the fastest growing economies in Europe. And as a matter of fact, economic success of Poland is well known, and I think we can proudly call ourselves the economic tigers of Europe.
Thank you very much. Actually, I like that title, the Economic Tiger of Europe. Very interesting. And of course, Poland has been an EU member state for 20 years now. And Beata has just completed and is presenting recently a study on 20 years of accession or of EU membership for the 8 countries that are our countries of operation that joined in. Beata?
So, in 1980, Lech Wałęsa, the Solidarity leader, floated the idea of Poland becoming another Japan. Now, it was an inspiring image precisely because it seemed as realistic as, the likelihood that Poland would land a man on the moon in 1980. Today, Polish GDP per capita is almost 2/3 of Japanese GDP per capita. During the 20 years of the EU membership, Poland doubled its GDP per capita relative to German income per capita. It's at 40%. So transition as well as EU membership has done wonders for Poland. And that's, I think, we don't talk enough about this, and we take it for granted, and younger generations have no idea how much progress Poland has made. At the moment, the war in Ukraine is casting a long shadow over the European continent, and yet Poland is poised to grow at almost 3% this year. That's our projection that we launched yesterday. Along with Croatia, it will be the fastest growing economy in the region. But that's today. But what about the medium term? There are 3 reasons why I'm optimistic about Polish growth in the medium term. First, we are observing reshaping of the global value chains. 1/3 of German firms that were surveyed last year by the IFO Institute, and that's a representative sample of German manufacturing firms, they talk about having concrete plans to add new suppliers within the following 12 months. So the process is taking place. Poland is an obvious location for this alternative additional suppliers. Second, as everybody is looking at their carbon footprint, they are discovering that Scope 3 emissions, that is emissions embodied in purchases of goods and services, are often quite considerable. And often, outsourcing of IT services to India is a source of those emissions. Emerging Europe is much less CO2 emissions intensive per $1 million worth of ICT exports than India. The difference is actually a factor of 2. So that's an opportunity for Poland, as well as other countries in the region, because an IT specialist from Bangalore has to fly to Munich or Berlin. From Warsaw, he or she can take a train. The third reason why I'm optimistic is that we all hope that soon we will be able to start reconstruction of Ukraine, and Poland will play a role of a hub, and Polish businesses are likely to be at the forefront of businesses investing there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Beata. Now, we have a few slides that Pavel was going to walk through in talking about FinTech Poland and the key element that digitalization is playing in the modernization of the economy. So, Pavel, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for introduction. I have a couple of slides just to give you some insights and broader picture of Polish digital finance space. Over the last 35 years, we have managed to create a financial sector which is not only resilient and mature, but also very innovative. And this innovativeness is located not only in fintechs per se, but also in the banks. And it was possible because of the lack of legacy, and banking infrastructure is relatively new, but also thanks to this spirit of entrepreneurship that Mr. Kaprownik just mentioned. And it translates into very high quality of banking and financial services for the customers. We have very low level of financial exclusion. All Polish customers, all Polish people have access to very good quality financial services. And if you look at the whole Polish financial sector, you can find out that it's very well diversified. And if you look at the specific sectors, banking, insurance, fintechs, you will find out easily that the leaders of Central and Eastern Europe financial services players are actually from Poland. Poland is also a European or even global powerhouse of business and technology services. A number of global financial institutions decided to locate in Poland its operations, not only back office, but also middle office. You can find cybersecurity centers, R&D centers, AML centers across Poland in all major cities. And it's very, very important part of our financial sector because it's very much international. What else? Maybe a little bit about the fintech space. This is a Polish fintech map. On this map, there are more than 350 entities. The sector is growing very, very fast, and it's very well diversified as well. And at the same time, you can find out that the most active part is payments, because payments are our area of expertise. Over the last several years, we have leapfrogged from the society and economy which was cash-based into almost cashless, thanks to very good cooperation between banks, between other kind of players like international payment schemes, acquirers, but also public sector. We have created a Cashless Poland initiative program, which transformed Polish acceptance network. And today we have one of the most modern and dense acceptance payment cards acceptance network, which is very, very innovative at the same time. In terms of e-commerce payments, it's even better. We have developed a number of local solutions driven by local fintechs, which are now very, very huge companies actually. Also cooperation between banks was of key importance, as several years ago 5 biggest banks decided to create a common project, a big payment system, mobile payment scheme, which now is the largest mobile payment scheme in Europe. So this is our great asset. At the same time, it's worth mentioning that we have a plethora of ID solutions driven by banks, but also by public administration. We have M-Obywatel, M-Citizen app, which is ID solution for citizens, and more than 15 million Poles use it on the daily basis. This is more than ID solution. This is a marketplace for public services, which you can manage from your mobile phone. Polish fintechs develop also other innovative solutions, pay now, pay later. For instance, we have very modern credit information bureau, which is one of the engines of our fintech sector. But we are aware that our financial sector is modern and innovative, but we also have agenda for the future. Last year we have created initiative which is called Future Finance Poland, and this initiative is mainly focused on building next generation financial centers. Public sector players, including Ministry of Finance, Polish Financial Supervision Authority, and players from the market side, decided to design a strategy which is based on two pillars. Central functions, those are activities that we perform on a daily basis to increase our competitiveness. On the other hand, we have selected a number of specializations, areas of expertise, which are of a key importance for us. We want to strengthen our position, increase our competitiveness, and we believe that thanks of this specific initiative, this development, our position in a global financial centers index will grow, and our position as an economy will be stronger. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pavel. Now, Grzegorz, the Warsaw Stock Exchange is the leading stock exchange in Central Europe, with by far the largest market cap and turnover in the region. It would be interesting for us to hear a bit about the development that the stock exchange, or the role the stock exchange played in Poland's sort of economic miracle, because I think it actually was really key, especially in relation to the growth of private equity industry. So maybe you could give us a bit of history and also a bit of view towards the future for the Warsaw Stock Exchange. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, for your question. Yeah, Pavel gave us quite a lot of data, so I think that I will skip some specific data because I will concentrate more on the history. It's a quite important and interesting history, because Warsaw Stock Exchange was established in the new version 33 years ago. Because I'm saying new version because by nature it was established in half of 19th century. So we are continuing this tradition, but this new modern stock exchange was established in 1991. I can say that I participated to develop the stock exchange from almost very beginning, because when I was very young student, I became the employee of Warsaw Stock Exchange. There were a group of people, young people, full of passion, and we wanted to build something what will stay for a long, long time. And I can say now that some children of my colleagues, they're already working for stock exchange as well. So it's like another generation in Warsaw Stock Exchange. And in the beginning, the first session was listed only 5 companies. So it was like we were like a baby. And now we have on the main market like 400 companies, and on alternative market there is another 500 companies. We have almost 200 future contracts, few hundreds of options, and 4,000 or 5,000 different derivatives. So as you can see, by these 33 years, quite a lot of things has been changed. And also 3 times we changed the trading system, and now we are working on to establish our new and own trading system called WATS, Warsaw Alternative Trading System. And before that, we were supported by Euronext, what was supported us from the very beginning. They gave us this experience, and they sent to Poland some experts, and we built our market based on the experience from France and Euronext. And going smoothly to the present time, I can say that now we are doing the same here, because we supporting AMX, Armenian Securities Exchange, to develop capital market in Armenia. And we choose this country because by our opinion, what was researched by 3 years almost during negotiation, we realized that people in Armenia, it's not the surprise that some people call this diamond value Armenian, like replaced from US. So here are a lot of smart, clever people who are full of passion as well, who want to build this small but very brave country. So we decided to come to this country and to support them, to doing the same what our friends from Euronext did to us. So now we are, because I represent Warsaw Stock Exchange, but I represent also Armenian Securities Exchange. So I can say that some of my colleagues from Armenia, they call me that I'm half Armenian. Okay, it's maybe a little bit more than necessary to say, but actually this is the fact that I understand these people very well. I spent most of the time here, and I know them pretty well already, so I can confirm that they are very open people, and we are really full of passion, and we have a faith that we can have the same success or maybe even bigger as Warsaw Stock Exchange past years. So I think that this is what I wanted to say about the history and present time. So thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you very much. We'll come back on some of the things you've raised. Elisabetta, maybe you can tell now about our new country strategy for Poland, which has just been consulted initially with our board and is under public consultation.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Let me start maybe with a small anecdote as well, because the minister mentioned 1989 and the sort of great transformation that Poland has gone through since then. So I remember very well that date, because not only was my birthday, but I was at university, and I was working on my dissertation comparing the liberalization policies of Poland and Hungary, so the shock therapy versus gradualism. And there's no doubt that since then Poland has made big strides, and as Beata mentioned, has benefited also in the past 2 decades from EU accession. So congratulations to the colleagues here and also to the country. And as EBRD, I think we have been very proud to support this amazing success story. Poland is a founding member of EBRD. We have been investing there since 1991. Cumulative, we have invested more than 14 billion euros in more than 500 projects. And it has become, over the past 2 years, one of the largest countries of investment for the bank. Now, we are in the process of working on a new country strategy for the bank. And we have identified 3 key operational priorities for the bank that corresponds to the area where we think and believe there is still need for EBRD presence and investment. The first is, of course, supporting the green economy transformation of the country. Despite the progress in building up alternative energy sources and renewables that EBRD has been financing, of course, the country is still heavily reliant on fossil fuels. And of course, we want to support not only the decarbonization of the energy sector, but also the hard-to-abate sector in the industry, and the bread and butter of what EBRD does, which is financing energy efficiency in buildings, but also in processes. The second priority is to support the private sector, so corporates that are innovative, that want to adopt more digitalization along the lines of what we heard earlier, and of course have an ambition also to expand and invest not only in Poland but also abroad. One of the most striking data when I started working on Poland for me is that despite the great success, the investment ratio over GDP is still very low. It's 17%. And we want to really invest in industries that support this faster growth and productivity. The third priority is to strengthen the resilience of the Polish economy, and we look here at two dimensions mainly. One is the energy sector, because of course we want to support the scale-up of alternative green energy sources, and in particular renewables, but we are aware that we need to also invest in the associated infrastructure, in particular in the grid and distribution network, in order to allow the absorption of this more intermittent energy. And of course, look at storage solution and more innovative sort of sectors like the potential production and use of hydrogen. The second dimension of this resilience is on the financial sector, and I must say the bank has worked a lot in partnership with the Warsaw Stock Exchange, with the Ministry of Finance, to support the development of the local capital markets. But it's true that Poland remains a country where the main source of funding is either return earnings or bank loans. So we want to support the diversification of the financial instruments available and access to finance, and in particular more sophisticated capital market transactions or equity.
Okay, thank you, Elisabetta. I think we've had some very interesting things that we've heard, and I would actually like to say to the Minister, I thought it was very interesting, your emphasis on culture. I agree with you. I do think that Poland is an incredibly entrepreneurial society, and I'm sure that that has been one of the key elements to the country's success. That being said, you know, you're with the new government, you're looking forward at your policies. What will be your key priorities, and why should investors be looking at Poland now, besides the points Beata already mentioned on the nearshoring?
Thank you, Charlotte. We are having lots of discussions with investors, both in Europe, US, in the Gulf states. There is a big interest in Poland these days because of the factors I mentioned and what also Beata mentioned when it comes to reshoring, offshoring. We have, for example, a major investment of Intel in semiconductors. We've just had discussions with the CEO that this is a long-term investment, and it's just the beginning of the story. So certainly there is a potential there. And from what we are seeing and what we are hearing from the investors, recently we had a group of American investors, all the major companies that are invested in Poland. It was very interesting because the basic outcome of this discussion was that there is lots of opportunities. And the gentleman who was chairing this group, he said that he remembers when he was coming to the ministry 10 years before, 20 years before, and the discussion was primarily about what should be fixed, what are the problems, you know. And now we've had a long discussion with the investors about what are the opportunities. And I'm saying that because we have a major challenge when it comes to the economic transition. I've mentioned the issue of competitiveness, because for us the primary priority as government in the economic domain is obviously the competitiveness of the country. And here I would like to mention the first major priority that should allow us to improve our competitiveness, namely the green energy transition. Today, the amount of electricity that is being produced from coal is 68%, which is like, it's a big number, right? Sometimes the spot market for electricity shows that this is a big problem, this is a big challenge for our economy, because a few years have been wasted when it comes to renewables, and we are seeing that there are days when the energy prices in Germany or France are much lower than in Poland. And this is why we are focusing on the energy transition as the heart of the economic strategy, because first it's going to decrease the energy costs, and we all know that Europe is struggling with energy costs, so structurally we have to do that. Second of all, the need is gigantic also when it comes to investment opportunities, because if you are doing the green transition, there is also lots of innovation, lots of companies, so we are attracting many investors from all around the world for this gigantic transition, which is estimated at around $300 billion opportunities. So this is like the heart of the whole economic transition, I would say. But as Elisabetta mentioned, I mean, we also need to go a bit broader, because there is also a challenge when it comes to capital market infrastructure and private capital. I mean, we have lots of funds from the EU. We've just received the biggest ticket ever, over 6 billion euros payment for digital and energy transition, but we do not want to rely solely on public funds. We need to employ the second engine, which is private investments. And I'm mentioning it because my minister, he used to be fund manager, and he's the first finance minister who comes from the financial sector, and he is preoccupied with creating this equity culture, and as I've said, mobilizing the second engine of growth, which will be private investments. So we are now preparing a major capital markets reform. We are speaking to venture capitals to allow them operate in the country. So this, I would say, is the backbone of the strategy. I'm not going to mention the fintech, IT, because our economy is very well diversified, which is also a big plus, because there are some economies in the region which are relying on one sector, and it's not very sustainable. So I've just mentioned this energy transition and the capital markets, which are key, but there are plenty of other sectors. We are talking to biotech companies, which are very dynamic in Poland. This is a big innovation hub that is being created. So I could go on forever, so maybe I'll stop here.
Well, actually, you mentioned many things that can take us in different directions, and the innovation and the biotech and sort of, you know, I think it used to be that there were foreign investors coming to Poland, but now we also see important Polish companies investing outside of Poland because they are becoming leaders in their sector. But I wanted to come back to the equity culture and the point about equity, because I mean, what I observed as a banker in EBRD through many years is that Poland has the best private equity industry in our countries of operation. And it's very important. And it has contributed a lot also to the Warsaw Stock Exchange, because for many years it was a primary feeder for IPOs. So I'm looking at Grzegorz and maybe Elisabetta, if you'd like to say something about the role of the private equity in the capital market development in the country.
Okay, sure. Maybe I will start, if you don't mind. Okay, you're right. IPOs were the keys of success in Poland, because in the beginning and the years later on, we had some like 2-3 IPOs per month. And because of this, we built this, let's say, basement for the capital market, and then we could concentrate on other instruments, because as all of us know, the stock exchange is not on equities, there are bonds, there are different kinds of instruments. So first of all, we built this basement for capital market and equities. But of course, there is a limited amount of the new companies and big companies. So now this process is slowed down, and we are looking for different opportunities to continue developing our market, capital market. So now it's time for more complicated or maybe different kind of instruments like ETFs, ETC, and other structured products, what is actually quite a fancy subject on other stock exchanges. If you take, for example, trading in the Frankfurt, there is equal number of value of trading equities and structured products. So Warsaw Stock Exchange is also looking for new opportunities. And okay, second subject is that we try to find other opportunities out of the country. And Armenia is the best example of this, because by building capital market here in the proper way, we are looking also for other opportunities, like other countries in the region and other countries what is access more difficult from Poland, but it's much easier from here. So I think that this is the answer from my side. Elizabeth?
Well, let me comment maybe on our partnership with the private equity funds industry, and I'm talking under the supervision of Anne Fosman, who is in the room and is really more qualified than me to comment on this sector. But just to say that it's true that this is one of our sort of strongest, if you want, partners in Poland and in Central Europe. I think we are definitely the largest institutional investor, and we partner with most of the large private equity funds that have a focus on Poland and maybe other countries in the region. And not only, of course, they've been a source of equity, which is much needed for corporates, but also they've been a source for us of opportunities to co-invest in order to support the continuous growth of the investee companies. And the third element, of course, which is very important for us, is that through our indirect equity participation and through the funds, of course, we have an opportunity to establish best corporate governance standards in the investee companies, not only in the traditional way, but also now with a focus on climate and gender mainstreaming, which are two important focuses of the bank. What I would like to see more is opportunity for direct equity investment. We have been quite successful in improving our ratio here, but I think it goes back to this cultural and mentality check and maybe generational change that we need to see at the helm of some of the medium-sized companies. And there needs to be the willingness on the part of the owners and the entrepreneurs to release a bit of control and open up their capital to other investors and eventually list on the stock exchange. That would definitely improve the liquidity also of the market, which is one of the remaining constraints, I think, when people look at the stock exchange as an exit option.
I should have said at the beginning that we are live streamed on EBRD.com, on X, and on YouTube. And so the audience is encouraged to send in questions. We have the Slido app, and we'll be able to address those questions later. But I want to ask if any of the panelists want to ask anything of each other. And if not, I have a question. But Beata?
Well, actually, I just wanted to come back to the comment about green transition made by the minister. Poland is a recent convert to green transition. I think it's fair to say that Poland had a change of heart in this respect, precipitated by the war. And I think this is going to be a real game changer for the country. It is a diversified economy, both manufacturing and services, including exports of educational services. Actually, Eastern European EU member states are more reliant on manufacturing than other countries of similar income. But they will not do well unless they have renewable energy, right? Because we are going to see prices of CO2 emissions go up. And that's why I think this change of heart and the focus on renewables is what positions Poland very well for the next decade. Also, in our last transition report, we looked at which countries among our regions have comparative advantage in goods needed for green transition. And Poland is one of them with, for instance, battery exports. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If I just may say one, this is exactly why the green transition is the heart of the economic strategy, because it's such a big opportunity, and we are a little bit late to the party, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad message. I think, if you are late, sometimes there are different opportunities. So, for example, the prices of some technologies have dropped radically over the last 8 years, which means that Poland can calibrate its energy transition differently than anybody else. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to come in? Pavel?
So maybe, again, a little bit about the fintech perspective and the challenges and the opportunities that they face. In transition, actually, of our economy, we are in a very interesting point in time when Polish financial innovation sector is that mature that there is a whole class of ventures, of financial firms that are ready for expansion because Polish market is just too small for them. And as we have the culture of entrepreneurship, we need to learn how to expand effectively, because we have we are not a colonial country and we have no tradition of expansion. So we have to learn how to expand effectively, and in order to expand globally, we need a smart capital here in place. So that's why capital market instruments are so important for this part of the market and the whole market as well. At the same time, we see great opportunity that comes from the fact that we are part of single market of financial services, one of the biggest market globally for fintech companies, and we can act as a gateway to this market, to Europe. But to do so, we need to build more competitiveness and attractiveness from the perspective of investors, and we are doing our best to do so. But we need more strategic perspective. We need more efforts from the regulators, supervisors to manifest our readiness to be an international global hub for financial services. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to see if anyone in the audience has any questions at this point. No? Okay. We do have a question from the remote audience, which is asking about how we would elaborate on the role for Poland to play in reconstruction of Ukraine, and which is already, in fact, taking place as the war continues. Did you want to come in first?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Poland had 1.5 million economic migrants from Ukraine before the war started, then 1 million of refugees. Now, these people, whether or return or stay, they will serve as a bridge between the two countries. And there's a huge economic literature documenting that forces of gravity hold when it comes to flow of foreign direct investment. Distance still matters. So geographic proximity plus linguistic proximity and the fact that Poles have gotten to know Ukrainians well, the fact that there are many Ukrainians in Poland means that the business linkages will be strong and that you can expect Poland being a big source of FDI going into Ukraine. And so that's an opportunity for Polish companies to expand that you just mentioned.
Did you want to add something, Minister?
No, maybe just that indeed, I mean, there is this big cultural convergence which certainly places Poland above except for the geographical location, which places Poland as a sort of natural partner when it comes to dealing with Ukraine, and a natural hub for the whole world to support this process.
Okay, thank you. Elisabetta.
Well, I forgot to mention that this is actually one of the points that we also have in the new country strategy, because we indeed believe that there is a huge potential for Poland to play this regional hub and connect basically Ukraine with the rest of Europe. For this, though, I think there would need to be investment in some of the infrastructure that would allow better trade flows. But I wanted to make also the other point that, in fact, what we are seeing now is the entry of not only some of the fintech and IT sort of companies that were before based in Ukraine, now sort of operating from Poland, but also reverse investment. So we recently supported a pharma Ukrainian company that decided to, because of the war, to start diversifying their markets and in an M&A operation in Poland. So there could be benefits and not only trade and investment flows on both sides.
Thank you. Grzegorz, you were...
Yeah, I just wanted to share some short information, what maybe you already know, that Warsaw Stock Exchange has already more than 10 companies from Ukraine listed on Warsaw Stock Exchange, and we established even a separate index, VIG Ukraine. So we have already experienced before war, and now we are very open for the future cooperation as well. So this is what I wanted to share.
Last year, in cooperation with Ukrainian Fintech Association, we have created a Polish-Ukrainian Fintech Hub, which is a platform of exchange, of cooperation, which I hope will help Ukrainian companies, financial companies, to enter European Union market, as this market is very, very much regulated, so they need some help to understand legal framework of a single market. At the same time, we are trying to encourage Polish tech firms to enter into Ukrainian market.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that. Question from the audience over here.
European Business Association Armenia, Diana Saromova. I have a question to Grzegorz. As an investor who invested their money to Armenian market, so your recommendations, first 1, 2 key points why you are happy and unhappy of doing business in Armenia, and 1, 2 recommendations for Armenian government and civil society and associations like us, what needs to be done to improve business environment and investment climate in Armenia. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for the question. Okay, so maybe I will concentrate on positive things. So what is necessary for capital market? There are 4 parts, like a regulator, good regulator, open for new ideas and changing regulation. We need to have infrastructure, like a stock exchange, and CDA, like a depository. We need to have professional banks, and who will be a bridge between retail investors and investment banks, who will be a bridge between retail investors and stock exchange. And so we need participants like retail investors, and so all of these parts are very important and equal to each other. So to develop all these parts, and as you know, because you are very familiar with capital market, you know that not all of these parts are equal. So what we are concentrating now, we are concentrating on 2 parts, like to help banks to change in investment banks, to become professional investment banks. And then we would like to share our knowledge with society, with retail investors, because this is like we can see that there is the lack of this knowledge about capital market and products, what can capital market offer for them. So this is the basic. And what I don't like, actually, it's difficult to say what I don't like, because it doesn't matter do I like it or not. Or if there is the problem, this is challenge for us. And okay, the first thing what is coming to my mind is the regulation. Regulation, but not on your side, but on the European Union side, because the European Union is a very regulated entity, and because of this, it's a problem for transmission and to bring, for example, investors from Armenia to Poland and Polish investors to Armenia and this kind of thing. So we are working very hard to change it on both sides, Polish and Armenian. And I'm very happy that Minister of Finance is with us, because we talk already a lot about this during this meeting in Yerevan. And as he mentioned, Minister of Finance is from capital market by nature as well. So he understands very well these needs. And we are happy that we will cooperate to develop the market here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dragos. We have a question here and then one over here.
Thank you. Mr. Minister mentioned that, there are like 16.8% of power actually coming from coal right now. So, and there are targets set by European Union with regard to green transition and also CO2 emission, etc. So my questions are, what actions has been taken by Polish government with regard to actually catch up the development, and also what's the momentum of private capital, to actually fuel the green transition in Poland right now? So thank you.
You're right. We have EU targets, we have global targets, and certainly we are committed to meeting them, which is why the majority of the financial stream that we are receiving from the EU is going to this green energy transition. It's obviously, as I've mentioned, a major need, but also a change which will create innovation within the market, new innovative companies, because this green transition, the green transition is a global business, as a matter of fact. So if you are a front runner in green transition, it means that your companies can learn, can adapt, can innovate, and then they can export, they can go global. So we are looking at it in a comprehensive manner. But obviously the renewables and green transition is not enough given the timing. So we are also investing in nuclear power plants. We've already established a first agreement with Westinghouse, the American company, and they are building a first nuclear power plant. We are also in discussion with other companies from Europe and elsewhere. There is also a discussion with some innovative companies from the US with regards to fusion, which is obviously a major breakthrough on the market. So there is lots of decisions and the strategy, but there are also uncovered opportunities like the fusion, for example. So, it's an ongoing process.
Thank you. Question here.
Thank you, Charlotte, for letting me ask the question. My name is Stanislav Horbachevsky. I'm representing one of the largest LSP from Ukraine with office in Poland, and we're already doing M&A. We're buying a company in Poland. So we're kind of investor, but still SME. But the question is more about microeconomics. So especially last year, I heard that Polish economy is the fastest growing, and around 2030, it's going to be quite the same size of GDP than UK economy. And maybe it's kind of, but I don't think it's a joke. As I'm staying in Warsaw, I really believe that it's possible. But the first question to Deputy Minister of Finance, what what key points Polish government will do to realize this? And of course, question to Beata, how do you think, how possible it is for Polish economy to become even bigger than UK economy in 6 years? Thank you for possibility.
So it's true that we have surpassed certainly Portugal and Greece. We are now close to Spain. I'm not going to mention my British friends because I have lots of sympathy for them. But when we joined the EU, we were around 50%, at around 50% of GDP per capita level with regards to the EU. Now we are around 80%, at the level of 80%. So certainly, as I've mentioned, I mean, we are the economic tiger of Europe, and we want to continue that, which is why I've explained to you the strategy based on the green energy transition and capital markets reforms. But if you want to ask me what's the additional value added, certainly this innovative part that I've mentioned, that, you know, we've been in Poland talking for 30 years about innovation, R&D, human capital, but now we are very much committed to use this green energy transition as a way to create real innovative companies that are linked to this industry, but also go beyond the industry. So as I've mentioned, we are talking with venture capitalists, we are talking with biotech companies which are very, very much developed in Poland. So we are focusing on innovation, but for real.
Beata.
Well, I care more about GDP per capita rather than total GDP. And if you look at new EU member states, in that respect, they are on a trajectory to become richer than some southern European regions. And that seems very possible, right? Note that I talk about regions rather than countries. I'm talking about sub-regions, right? There's a big difference between northern and southern Italy. But I also care about is health. What we see in the data is that people in the new EU member states are, in their own view, as healthy as people in G7 countries. This is true of men and women, of all ages except those who are over 70. And then finally, people in our region have become happier. You know, there used to be a post-communist happiness deficit. So if you ask people about their life satisfaction, if you took into account GDP per capita of the country and income of the household, they were still very gloomy. That happiness deficit disappeared in 2016.
I love that. The happiness deficit is gone. We have one last question that came in online, and that is for Elisabetta, and it is about how does the EBRD work with the other IFIs in Poland? And I actually think it's a good way to sort of wrap up, sort of explaining our role and the others.
No, thank you for raising this question. Well, I would say that we have a very good collaboration, especially renewed over the past few years, because we have seen other IFIs that had, in a way, graduated from Poland, returning to the country and the region because of the increased need and increased additionality that we have also witnessed. Our strongest collaboration, of course, is with the IFC, because we are both focusing on the development of the private sector. But, of course, the EIB is playing a very important role, including in investing in some of the infrastructure. We have co-invested with EIB in the first offshore wind project in the Baltic Sea last year, where you needed all the firepower of not only the IFIs, but also the major commercial bank in Poland to close the financing gap for that project. And we will continue to aim at co-financing with other IFIs. We're also an implementing partner of EU Invest Guarantees, which is an additional instrument that we can deploy for our clients.
Okay. Well, I think we're out of time. So I would like to thank all of our panel members. It's been a really excellent panel. Thank you very much. Maybe we can have a round of applause. And thank you.